Good afternoon. It's time to call to order the July meeting of the Oklahoma City Environmental Economic Development Trust. The first item on business is to approve the minutes of the June 29th, 2015 Oklahoma City Economic Development Trust.
So moved.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Please cast your votes. And the minutes are approved. Next item on the agenda is to ratify the Oklahoma City Economic Development Trust claims.
So moved. Okay, one claim that I'd like to bring to everybody's attention today is the payment of the loan component of the allocation to the 21C Hotel. It's a large claim that's on the docket for $3.3 million. Just to give you a little bit of background on some of the other funding sources that are a part of the 21C project. First of all, there's the TIF loan. There's also a TIF grant component of $2 million. And there is, the city recently approved a Section 108 loan for $5.9 million, I believe, to help with the development of this project. 21C is an interesting project because it serves as kind of the catalyst for additional development on the west end of downtown. We're beginning to see a lot more interest in the west end of downtown through Film Row. I think the development of the boulevard and connecting that into I-40 will also help to encourage development in the area because it will have better accessibility. But 21C itself is a boutique hotel. It'll have an upscale restaurant. ADG, the architectural firm here in Oklahoma City, has decided to relocate their offices to that area as well from Bricktown. So we're going to have this kind of anchor on the end. And then 21C has also recently announced that it plans to build pretty substantial mixed-use development around the hotel. There's also a music venue that's a piece of this project. So we're really going to have this kind of very substantial level of investment on the west end of downtown that we think will really serve to fill in the area from, let's say, the Devon headquarters over to Classen. One of the other things that I learned last night was that 21C is a great corporate citizen and participates in programs that help organizations like the United Way and other people that are needy in the community, and I really think that's one of the other kind of spin-offs that happens when we do this kind of economic development. We create corporate citizens that then can help the nonprofit community too and help with resources for the underserved and underprivileged. So a really good story, and really excited that they're under construction and hope to see lots more going on around that building in the next few months.
Thank you, Kathy. We had a motion, I believe. Do we have a second? We had a motion second. Any other comments or questions from the trustees on the claims? Seeing none, please cast your votes. And the claims have been ratified. Next on our agenda are some items that need individual consideration. The first is a preliminary engineering report dealing with streetscape package 6B of Project 180. Kathy, would you like to speak to that?
I'm going to ask Eric Winger to come forward and make a few comments about this project. It's package 6B that I think is the Gaylord Avenue piece of the Project 180.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. This is the last of the streetscape projects for Project 180, and as Kathy mentioned, it is specifically for EK Gaylord between Reno and Robinson, or Reno and Sheridan. So this is going to be right in front of the intermodal hub, and it's also a complementary project to a lot of the work that's already underway at the hub. It also is going to be the location where some of the first streetcar track is going to be laid as a part of the MAPS 3 route project. So there's a number of things that are there. Probably the other biggest item of interest, if you're familiar with the area, the pedestrian travel into and out of Bricktown into downtown is challenging at times, both at Reno and at Sheridan. And so one of the things that we did as part of this project was did a traffic study. And there's a validation that we can actually reduce the number of lanes from 6 to 4. So the curbs will be moving inward allowing those pedestrians to cross more freely into and out of downtown. So this is the preliminary report for your consideration today. The project's a $6.4 million budget. We do anticipate bidding some ad alternates with the project as well. Some of those projects that we did not elect to take in some of the previous packages will be rebid for consideration. We'll be bringing that back as a part of the final plans this fall. We're expecting to go out to bid later this year and get it into construction in 2015.
I have a question. How, with the uncertainty of the future Cox Center, the engineering work will be done to provide flexibility with whatever use is deemed pertinent for the Cox Center in the years ahead?
The answer is yes, and there's also some other things with the new boulevard that's going in and with some of the enhancements to the traffic patterns that the boulevard's going to provide. Those are also taken into consideration. There was a growth rate also placed onto the traffic model, so there was just a lot of engineering data that was collected. But honestly, it was the boulevard that allowed the reduction to happen, where we're able to actually feed a lot of the traffic onto the boulevard off of Reno and off of Sheridan.
Wishes of the trustees.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, please cast your votes. And it is so done. Thank you, Eric. Next item is a change order, an unusual change order representing quite a bit of reduction on the projects listed on Amendment 6 and change order number 6 of this Oklahoma City and Water Trust project. Would you like to speak to that at all, Kathy? Or
Eric?
Eric?
So we do have an amendment and a change order for your consideration, and this is on actually package 6, also 6A, so it's McGee, Northwest 4th, Robinson, and Kerr. It's a net deduct of $345,000. Now, this is just reconciling unused quantities of materials that were on the project. It's typical as we get to the end, and this project's now complete, where we finalize those quantities and prepare for final acceptance. So the work on this project is substantially complete.
Thank you, Eric.
I'd like to approve this motion.
The motion is second. Any discussion or questions? Please cast your votes. And it is so approved. Next item, we have an agreement between Oklahoma City's Economic Development Trust and Oklahoma City Community College. And I believe we have Stephen Bloomberg here from OCCC who would like to speak. And as he's coming forward, I'd like to publicly congratulate Stephen on just being named the interim assistant.
Acting Executive Vice President.
Acting Vice President.
Close enough. I always let Councilman McAtee, whatever he wants to call me, that's my title for the day. And so, Chairman McAtee, we appreciate the opportunity, and I want to introduce, just so the members of the group are aware, Dr. John Boyd, who is our Chief Financial Officer. So if you have any questions pertaining to the exacting finances of the project, either myself or Dr. Boyd may answer those for you. I just wanted to spend a few moments very briefly summarizing the project, and so what I will do first is kind of talk to you about the history of the Capitol Hill area, and then talk to you about our intent with this facility and the economic benefits we believe the city and citizens can derive from it. So as many of you know, Capitol Hill at one time was sort of the commerce hub of Oklahoma City. Katz Drug Store, Langston's, John A. Brown Building. It was really the commerce and shopping hub of the city in the 50s and 60s, and then from that time experienced some decline, and now, as you know, with many of our neighborhoods and areas, is on the rise again. And so Oklahoma City Community College has had a presence in Capitol Hill since the year 2000. We started with a Southwestern Bell grant and operated out of an elementary school until they grew and needed that space. We moved to the Latino Community Development Agency, and another interesting thing happened. They needed space, and so we were asked to vacate that property. And so in 2012, we negotiated a deal with the Capitol Hill United Methodist Church located at 123 Southwest 25th Street, because we knew that in order to affect our programming, we needed to return to the heart of as many of us know, Commerce Street. And so our operations are housed in 5,000 square feet right now in the Capitol Hill United Methodist Church. We own the property at 325 Southwest 25th Street, which, as many of you know, is the former Katz Drug and former Langston's building. So we're under construction now, and that facility should be finished in about a year with the first phase that we're working on. The effects are what I really want to talk to you about. In other words, the economic difference and the intellectual difference this will make in this area of our city. So for For example, what we're doing now is you heard Kathy talk earlier about things that were catalysts. We really believe that this new facility, both the catalyst and the cornerstone for Capitol Hill, and again, if you look at other areas in the city, whether it's Paseo District, whether it's Film Row, Automobile Alley, in economic development, someone has to go first. And so for Capitol Hill, because of our presence, our long-standing history there with working with the citizens, the students, the businesses, we felt like Oklahoma City Community College was a very logical choice to go first. And so there aren't many other large entities where we've had redevelopment in the city where a larger, in many cases, for-profit entity takes the lead. In this case, as a community college, because we have been that steadying presence for over 15 years, we felt like it was time for us to go first. And then once our facility is in, then we believe obviously there's the economic domino effect of other businesses coming in. To give you an idea of our impact right now, our fiscal year is the same as the city, so July 1st of any given year to June 30th of the next year. Last year, between enrollments, visits to the campus, in Capitol Hill at the United Methodist Church, we had over 14,000 people. That was part of the presentation we gave to the TIF Review Board less than a year ago. So that means people enrolled in non-credit programming, in work transition programs, in visits to get help with resumes. So it is a duplicative number, but in those visits, we literally had over 14,000 visits to that campus. That's without the introduction of credit programming, which will be the next step. So as we look at this new facility we're building, which is approximately 44,000 square feet, there's really three main constituent groups that I would say to you will be primarily and directly impacted from this new facility. Number one is students who require what I will call remediation or adult basic education. We currently operate the largest adult basic education program in the state of Oklahoma. We will enroll approximately 6,000 non-credit students this fall in adult basic education, ranging from GED preparatory courses, English as a second language, things that are meant to prepare people to a certain level where they can earn a general education diploma. So that's part of our programming in Capitol Hill. The second part really affects businesses, and that is being the advocate for small businesses in Capitol Hill. I don't believe Capitol Hill will ever become the home of a lot of big box retailers. I think Capitol Hill will probably retain that sort of Main Street-esque feeling from the 60s, and so we've worked with a lot of the merchants and proprietors there now to help them with their businesses. As we move forward, some of the things that we will introduce is, one is an entrepreneurial academy for people who are aspiring entrepreneurs to help them on board. You know, as you know, sometimes with small businesses, some people aren't aware you have to have a separate business checking account to conduct business as opposed to running everything through a personal account. And so many times you take someone who has a great business idea but doesn't necessarily possess the business acumen to bring it to reality. And so we'll be working with existing businesses to help train their workforce, helping new businesses aspire and grow into the buildings that are in Capitol Hill, providing adult basic education, and sort of all this culminating in credit programming. So we will begin what is called the first year experience at this campus. So in other words, students who enroll in things like English 1311, of which most of us have fond memories, or college algebra, U.S. history to 1865, U.S. history from 1865 to the present, psychology, sociology. We will take a cohort of students, begin their credit experience at this new location, and then transition it to our main campus. So one of the main differences is, though, we do not consider the Capitol Hill Center to be a campus. Under our accrediting guidelines from the Higher Learning Commission, there are certain aspects that are required for accreditation of a full off-campus site. We will not be offering all those services at Capitol Hill. So it is a center, but it is not a branch campus. So I want to make sure that as trustees you understand that where we will be operating it as a center. But our timeline is about a year from now to be in the facility, to be functional, to make the move over from the Capitol Hill United Methodist Church. It's approximately a $10 million project, and again, I believe it is probably the centerpiece for redevelopment in Capitol Hill. And so with that, I'm happy to answer any of your questions. Dr. Boyd can answer any questions as well. So anything we need to answer, Chairman McAtee, we're pleased to do.
Thank you for that update, Stephen. Trustees, any questions? We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. That is approved. Thank you for coming, and good luck, and thank you for the investment that the OCCC continues to make, not only in this area of South Oklahoma City, but on your present campus also.
there's lots of, with our new president, as you know, lots of great things going on. So we really appreciate the support from the city as well. Thank you so much.
Okay, moving along. Next on our agenda is the City Economic Development Foundation report. Kurt Foreman.
Good afternoon again. Always good to see you. It's hard to believe another quarter has flown by, and it's time for the end of the year report, which we turned in, I guess, about 3 weeks ago, and hopefully you had a chance to peek through it. As usual, the back section is a sort of a stack or a set of the physical things we've produced promoting the community that we use as the tools throughout the year. And that's everything from our latest At a Glance, which is sort of a good overview of the community, into other things back there. And I urge you to, we get lots of compliments on that. The good news is there's lots of good data in there that people usually find helpful. So if there's ever anything that you think we should consider putting in there, we're always eager to hear. There's also some references to our OKC retail website, which is doing very well. It's a very targeted website, so it's not a mass site, but it really focuses both for internal and folks who may be starting a retail business right here in the community who want to engage about the market, and it also is meant to be a door for those maybe looking from outside the market. In fact, Tammy's in Dallas yesterday and today talking with retailers about Oklahoma City as we are supposed to. The rest of the report, I put a nice cover letter in there in terms of, that's not a quality assessment, but more a chance to give you a quick sense of some of the things that are going on that we've seen. And then there's the data that we always provide you. I went back through the data, and this year has been a really interesting year despite all the headlines. The first half of the year was running and gunning. The second half seemed a little quieter, but we exceeded all the metrics except for one, which was prospects. But jobs and investment and retail meetings, all the different things we track, and we talked among ourselves about leads and prospects. We've had tremendous success as a community despite the number of prospects being down. I don't know if we can say for sure whether that means we're just good as a group of partners in closing deals, or perhaps the process has changed. And we think the second is the case, that companies, because of the web and other things, we often don't even know that they're looking at our market until almost the very last stage. They may already have picked out buildings. They may be down to the point of saying, all we want to do is come in and evaluate the labor force. We've done everything else already. You didn't know that, but we've already done that. And in fact, we have several projects we're working on right now where that's in fact the case. They've done all their homework under cloak and dagger or online and now are looking at the market. And we think that's going to be a permanent change in the process. Doesn't mean we shouldn't continue to do the things we're doing to gain attention for our market, but we think the process of how people look has permanently changed. But the news is very, very positive. There's lots going on. We had a chance to listen to Russell Evans, who I know you all are familiar with from OCU, and he made a comment at a meeting I was at the other day that for the first time ever, the state economy, and particularly the region here, with energy softening, often the rest of the sectors come down as well, and this is the first time where that's not happened. The other sectors are growing while energy is holding sort of steady or gone down a little bit. In fact, the actual net numbers for the state are actually up just 100, but they're up, even though despite all the headlines, the energy sector overall is holding its own. So that's the first time we've ever had that experience, and I think that just reinforces why it's so important to have a healthy economy and a diverse economy, and why it's so important for the Trust and the Chamber and others to work together to continue, even when we're successful, to beat that drum, because if we don't, that equation could change very quickly. So you may have questions that are more appropriate than any of the details in the report, but it's there for your review. We're real pleased with the results from the past 12 months.
Thank you, Kurt. Questions? Yes, Rhonda.
Kurt, you did say that the process has probably changed relative to the prospects being down, but do you know from a national trend if prospects are being more hidden until the last minute, or is this just an anomaly in Oklahoma?
No, I think from talking to our colleagues around the country, they're seeing similar trends. the number of projects short-term, I think, are down a little bit because of some of the things, particularly for our kind of a market where energy tends to be a key component. But we're seeing lots of other good projects, but that piece has gotten quiet. But yes, our colleagues around the country talk about how the process has changed for them as well. And you don't always know whether you have a project, so while they may be down, we may have lots of projects that are out there right now that we don't know about yet, but we're poised to handle them when they come in at that last point, which again becomes, they don't ask the easy questions, they ask the hard questions that aren't always easy to answer about our marketplace, but that's why we're available and ready at any time to work with Kathy and the rest of the partners to do that. Thanks for the question.
Any other comments from the trustees? Let me make one. You threw me a softball without knowing it, I don't think, where you said, is there anything in the Oklahoma City at a glance that I might like to see included in there in the future?
Perfect.
I've got my little bracelet on here as a training aid so I can remember it. This was put out a number of months ago by the Oklahoma City Thunder, I believe, discussing something which they call the Oklahoma Standard,
Okay.
which is made up of service, honor, and kindness. And coming from a background where character is very important, that really speaks to the character of our people. And as I was going through this, I was struck by the fact, while all the good accomplishments and all the good numbers were there, there was nothing praising the people in central Oklahoma which had contributed to this. So I throw that out there
I will
as
talk to our team about figuring that out. We completely agree. We as a chamber spent the month around the anniversary to do the things that we were all telling people to do those three things. We did that as a chamber staff. So we completely concur, and we'll look for a way to add that flavor in. That's a good suggestion.
Thank you
I
for the
can send you the
softball.
logo. I can send you the logo.
Oh, absolutely. There you go. I'm sure Cynthia has it, but we will.
Is it your logo?
Yes.
The logo is excellent.
Absolutely. And that kind of, those kinds of intangibles that we see visibly in our community really are one of the reasons when people come visit that they engage and really appreciate our market. So thank you for pointing that out.
Okay, we have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. Please cast your votes. And it is approved. Thank you, Kurt, for that
Thank
good
you.
report. Okay, next on our agenda is General Manager report.
I don't know that there's that much to cover this month, but we did receive ad valorem payments from Oklahoma County on TIFs 2, 4, and 6, and outlet mall sales through May exceeded target by 4.2%. So the outlet mall continues to perform, and we've had a lot of other projects that we've been working on this quarter that don't sometimes make it in the general manager's report, but projects with Boeing, and we sold the Journal Record building, which was a milestone for Brent and I at least. So we've only been working on it for 15 years, so, you know. But, yeah, so we've been busy.
Any questions for the General Manager? Seeing none, can I have a motion to receive it?
Second.
Okay, please cast your votes. And General Manager's report is received. Next on the agenda, comments from staff. Any staff like to make any comments? Any trustee comments? Okay, any citizens wishing to be heard? Seeing none, we are adjourned.